I don't know if you have noticed it, but I can see a general rise in the stress levels of people around me these days. That is, those who have a vague idea of what is happening in the country right now, anyway. This election coming up in a couple of weeks literally has the potential to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. And if that happens, we are all going to see levels of chaos and violence that we have never seen before in this country. I think there are many people out there who actually do see this, and hence the raised stress levels I see out there at the moment. It is taking its toll on us generally, and combined with the constant rise of the cost of living, more and more people are coming to the realization that things simply cannot carry on the way they are without something terrible happening. Something simply has to break sometime soon. I don't think this is an exaggeration or fear-mongering. I really don't. I recently spoke to you about which political party or parties we could ethically and or principally vote for. I don't even know if there is such a word as principally, but it just works for me. But since then, I've had a bit of a think about it, and if I'm personally honest about it, voting in this upcoming election is just an academic exercise in futility. There is no possible way that your or my vote for one of these two parties I spoke about is going to make an inkling of difference in the short term. And unfortunately, what this country needs right now is a short-term solution. What I mean by a short-term solution is basically an instant solution, because we simply do not have the luxury of time anymore. South Africa is staring a potential catastrophe in the face, and if that catastrophe does break out, and because things are that fragile, it could break out at any time now. Many thousands of people would die in the most horrific ways possible. Unfortunately, most of the current generation can't even imagine what is possible in this regard, simply because they have never been exposed to things like this, and they are generally totally ignorant to history. If they actually had an idea and were less ignorant about history, the stress levels I am seeing now would be 10 times higher than they are. I guess there is a lot of truth in the saying, ignorance is bliss. Having said that, I will still go out and cast my vote because it is about principles for me. I have a conscience, and I find comfort in knowing that I did my duty, even though I know it is basically a waste of time. It is the same as people and businesses paying tax every month. They know that their taxes are just being stolen, but they still pay them because they think it is the right thing to do. Well, most of them anyway. I am and have been for a while a strong supporter of secession. The minorities in this country are now at a point where we are left with no other choice. If we want to survive and if we want any kind of future for ourselves, our children, and our grandchildren on this continent. In other words, we need another great track. But this time round, unfortunately, we have absolutely nowhere to go, and therefore we need to claim a piece of this country and defend it with everything we have, because if we don't, the consequences could simply be too terrible to contemplate. This does not mean that every member of the minority group must either abandon or sell up any property they have and move to wherever this new territory is or is going to be. Not at all. I'm also not promoting the idea of secession of the Western Cape only, as is being promoted by the Cape independence parties, simply because the main reason for them wanting to secede is the amount of money they would save in the form of taxes currently having to be paid to central government. In my opinion, all they will be creating is a miniature version of South Africa with all of the same problems currently being experienced in South Africa. How long do you think it would be before the new government is voted out by the masses and the same thing happens to them as it is happening here right now? It's just a matter of time, and I don't think it will be anywhere near as long as it has taken here. Here is what I see as the ideal situation or first prize as far as the minorities are concerned. My first prize is a secession of the entire Cape Province as set out by the ULA and now the UCS, right from the Namibian border down to and including a big piece of the Eastern Cape, with the eastern border basically being a line from north to south. I suggest that you go to the websites of the ULA or the UCS and take a look at those maps. But by simply seceding and not making any changes to the governance system will also lead to exactly what we have now, which is why both the ULA and the UCS has a basic structure of a canton system where the new country will be a confederacy of multiple cantons where each canton will be a grouping of similar people as they would like to be grouped, and each canton will be able to govern themselves. This is an oversimplification, but accurate enough for the sake of this recording. In fact, one such canton already exists in the form of the Zuidland territory already marked out and on which the small enclave of SanDoring, previously known as Delbarton, exists. In all honesty, if I could afford it, I would have already moved there. My personal idea of a canton that I would like to live in is one where I get to live among my own people, people of my culture, with a governance system based on what, or loosely based on what OHM is promoting right now, or OHM as they are known. That to me would be the ideal situation. Who knows? It might happen in my lifetime still. I've made it a priority to live my life over the last 10 years or so as portable as possible. In other words, I've decided that I will not put down any roots wherever I find myself in this country. What that means is, I refuse to own any fixed property outside of where the seceded country would be if it was declared. I have no or very little money in the bank. I have very few possessions, and certainly very few valuable possessions that I wouldn't mind abandoning should the need arise. You see, I am not married, and I have no young children that I need to take care of. I have organized my life around a 32-year-old vehicle that, if I had to, I could fit all of the things in it that I consider to be either valuable to me or necessary for my survival. I keep these things in a basic state of constant readiness so that if the need arose, I could literally pack my vehicle and be out of Dodge within 3 to 6 hours, depending on a few factors. I can already hear people asking, where would you go? But the question would be asked in a very condescending fashion, as if I were be doing something really foolish. The short answer to that is west. You see, I'm a member of a group dedicated to the safety and the survival of my people, and in the event of severe chaos and violence, those of us who could would head to safer grounds where we could congregate, consolidate, organize, and then take care of the safety of the group for our own survival. All plans are already in place and ready for activation should the need arise. This way of life just happens to fall nicely into place with what I have in store for myself for the future, but that is a story for another day. If you are in a similar position to me and have nothing keeping you where you are, and you do have a desire to live in an area where you can live in relative peace and quiet and safety, keep listening. I have something that you might be very interested in. SanDoring is currently offering for sale the last of the current batch of plots on the farm at 95,000 Rand each, with a plot size being 1,000 square meters if memory serves me correctly. The only improvement to these plots is a water supply that has been laid on as part of the reticulation system and an access road, as far as I know. Recently, I was asked by someone to help them to sell their plot and house, which has yet to be erected on the farm. The owner has been offered another opportunity to live on a family member's farm and no longer needs his plot at SanDoring or the house he had built. So he asked me to help him to pass it on to someone who is looking to move to the farm. So if you fit the description of someone who would like to move to SanDoring as quickly as possible and would like to save a ton of money in the process, keep listening. The plot already has a septic tank installed and, as stated before, has a water connection ready for a meter to be fitted. As with all water on the farm, it is borehole fed and bracked, making it not suitable for human consumption. But I'm sure that with the right filtration system, the water could be purified to make it potable. I could be wrong about that, I don't know. The house is where you could save yourself a bunch of time as well as money. It is of wooden construction, and as I said, it has already been built by a contractor, but still needs to be transported to and erected on the farm. Let me give you some details on the house. It is a 2-bedroom cottage with 1 bathroom en suite. The bathroom has a shower, basin and toilet. In the kitchen is a single bowl stainless steel kitchen sink with grey kitchen cupboards. The sink and cupboards have already been fitted with taps and handles. Also in the kitchen is a central butcher's block counter. There are 10 plug points fitted throughout the house, as well as a distribution board ready for the new owner to hook up their solar or wind generation system. The one interesting concept that the owner had was to use 12-volt LED strip lighting throughout the house, eliminating the need for any light fittings. I've seen this kind of lighting myself, and I think it looks very good. It is also, relatively speaking, dirt cheap. Naturally, the house is also fitted with all its doors and windows. Outside the house is a patio 2 meters in depth and the full length of the house covered by the extended roof of the house. The patio is also surrounded by wooden railings with a staircase leading up to the one side. Naturally, the house and patio stands on a base which is elevated off the ground on wooden pillars. Let's look at current market prices. The current price of the bare plot on the farm is, as I said, 95,000 Rand. At current building prices, the house would cost you 392,000 Rand without any fittings or fixtures such as the kitchen sink and cupboards. To have a septic tank installed would cost you anywhere in the region of 15,000 to 20,000 Rand, depending on how big the tank is and how much work you are willing to do yourself, or how much work you would be willing to do yourself. For the contractor to transport the house to your plot and erect it for you would cost you 32,000 Rand plus, give or take. You would be very hard pressed to build this house on a plot today for 540,000 Rand, excluding the fixtures such as the kitchen sink, cupboards and center counter, which you would be getting with the house if you had bought it. This whole package, the plot with septic tank already installed, plus the house with kitchen fittings and cupboards, is going for 425,000 Rand, everything included. This is a massive saving of no less than 115,000 Rand. You could literally pay for an entire solar system with the money you save here. If you are willing to collect and transport the house to the plot and erect it yourself, you could save at least another 20,000 Rand on top of that. Remember, there is no waiting period for the house to be built either. You could literally collect the house tomorrow and start erecting it the same day. All panels are assembled and ready to be put together. In theory, it is possible that you could move on to your new house on your plot within a month or so. If I had the money, I would have snapped this up already and you would never have heard about it. But that is not the case, and I am passing it forward to someone who can afford it. Because this offer is already a huge bargain, and with the cost of building materials going up on a daily basis, this price is fixed and non-negotiable. So if you have been contemplating getting out of the city and moving to live amongst your own people in peace and safety, while at the same time save yourself over 100,000 Rand, look no further. Please don't hesitate to get hold of me via the email address in the description of this video, and I will be standing by ready to answer any queries you might have. Give me a like and give me a share. If you haven't already, click on the subscribe button. You have absolutely nothing to lose. And as always, until next time, be safe out there.